Hello, my name is Daniel Underwood. Welcome to my garden here in Essex in the southeast of the UK. So today I'm going to be making a video showing you some fruits and vegetables that you can plant during the month of March. So I've already done quite a bit of planting in modules, and I've also got some plants planted out in the ground now. So I'm going to be sowing some seeds as well today, so hopefully you can learn something from this video. Now I'm working on a new garden here. I'm incredibly excited about how this is going to turn out. I've got exotic plants growing around the edges. They're hardy exotics. So I've got persimmons here. I've got two varieties of persimmon. I've also got a variety of grapes growing around the edges as well, and a fig tree down the back. So it really is a little sun trap here and gets quite warm. So the exotics should love it here. Now, of course, these exotics are not going to be in full productivity for some time now. So what I'm going to do is set up a little garden in the middle here of things I can grow whilst I'm waiting for these to mature. So quite excited. And I've got some fleece you can see on here. Now the fleece here is to help to warm up the growing medium before planting, and indeed I'm also going to leave it on. The plants really will appreciate that bit of extra warmth that you give them at this time of year in particular. So what I'm going to do is plant some carrot seeds in here, variety James Scarlet Intermediate, and I'm also going to plant some white albino beetroot. So quite exciting plants there. Now with regards to these, they can germinate at relatively low temperatures, about 10 degrees C, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now they will be able to go a little bit lower than that, and of course at night it will indeed dip lower than that, but they will germinate at that temperature and a little bit lower as well. Another thing you could consider planting out at this time of year would be spinach. You could straight sow that, or indeed you could sow it in modules or pots, whatever, and transplant when they're a little bit bigger. So choice is yours really, plenty to do. Now I've pulled the fleece back so you can see what I've already got planted out under here. I planted these out about 2 days ago. So we'll start here. Now I've got a variety of beetroot here. I've got bolt hardy and also cylindra. Now with regards to early sowing, bolt hardy is generally the one recommended for it because it's less likely to bolt, hence the name. So we've got some of that here. These were grown in plugs, and I actually sown these in January, so quite early that I sowed these, and I then transplanted them out. Now here I have little gem cos lettuce. So these are nicely planted out here. Once again, modular sown and brought on and then planted out here. Now this one here is called Komatsuna, and it's one I really love. It's Japanese green, very nice tasting, and it's frost hardy and also drought resistant, so a great one to grow here in the southeast of the UK. Although we tend to get some of the warmest and longest summers by UK standards, we're USDA zone 8B here, we can also get droughts, so watering can indeed be an issue. So Komatsuna, very good for that. Spinach I have here. Spinach is a great one, once again fully frost resistant, and it can germinate in relatively low temperatures. And over here I have white Lisbon spring onions, which I modular sown and then transplanted out. So a nice variety already in this relatively small space. I'm hoping that a lot of this will be ready to harvest by June time. Probably will be considerably earlier for the Komatsuna. I'm going to sow my James Scarlet Intermediate carrot seeds. Now one could consider a variety such as Nonce Nantes at this time of year as well. So when direct sowing carrot seeds, it's generally recommended you have the rows about 1'30" centimetres apart. I'm probably going to put mine a little bit closer than that. So all I'm going to do really is make a little trench like this with my trowel here, just like so. And I'm going to sow them relatively thinly. I'm not going to agonise too much about having them very thinly. Some people mix them with sand, the seeds, when they sow them. That way you can go a bit finer. But I'm not going to be that precise. And all I'm going to do is literally just scatter some seeds like this. Now with a bit of luck, these should germinate within 2 to 3 weeks. And if that happens, that will be absolutely grand. You can also eat carrot tops as well. It's not just the root that one can eat, so you really can get a nice crop out of them. So that's one row sown there. So I'm going a bit closer now, and so literally I'm just going to put my line down like so once again, and I'm simply going to put my carrot seeds in. Now if one had more available time to budget, one could maybe sow them a little bit thinner than this, but what someone can also do at a later date is to thin them out. So you can see there I have two nice rows of carrot seeds. Next up is white albino beetroot, actually known from pre-Roman times, so quite intriguing there. Now I'm going to sow them once again about a foot apart, 30 centimetres, and the same process again like that. I'm going to sow them relatively thinly, and these are quite intriguing because they can actually be baked like sweet potatoes, so quite interesting there. And I'll get the seeds out. They look more or less like normal beetroot seeds really. So we're just going to plant them out, scatter them along. One good thing about sowing quite a lot of beetroot seeds at one time is of course you can remove them as they grow, remove the bigger ones and let the other ones mature. So that can be very helpful to allow you to have a sustained crop over a period of time. And of course you can sow beetroot for quite a few months, probably up to around June time I would say. So quite a long cropper definitely. We've got one row of them. Going to cover them up now with the compost. Now they're sown about a centimetre deep, half an inch, something like that, and I'm just going to gently cover them like this. Now this growing medium actually is mainly compost. I bought a load of compost a while ago. It is a no-dig bed. It will have a little bit of soil in because I had some compost left over in pots etc from previous projects. So what I did was kept that and I put it on the beds. Not too much soil on. I don't want too many weed seeds in here. So it being a no-dig bed, it will warm up quicker. Now we're getting daytime temperatures of about 11 degrees C, which is around 52 degrees Fahrenheit, going down to about 2 degrees C at night, which is about 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So relatively chilly at night, but these will still be fine. Where are we? And they're all nicely covered up here. So we're going to have little tags here. When I make my tags or write my tags, I like to put the date, what it is and the variety. That way you're less likely to forget. Very interesting to know when you sown things, because then you can make notes about how quick things germinate, and you can also compare, you know, different sort of situations, and that can be quite useful for your gardening plans. So James Scarlet Intermediate just there, and James Scarlet Intermediate just there. Oh, there we are. Now actually leaves a bit of space here to plant something else. Probably here I'm going to have lettuce or something like that, but they're growing away modules, so we'll transplant them out at a later date. Going to water these in now. I really like these Ward watering cans. It's got a rose on there, and just going to water that. Now this is actually rainwater from a water butt. Very beneficial actually to start saving rainwater, even if it's not actually that much. You know, just like I always say most things in gardening to people, do what you can. You know, you probably don't live in a situation where gardening is the easiest thing to do, but make the best of what you've got. So what we're going to do is water all of it whilst we're here, and yeah, there we are. So we have quite a selection of nice plants growing here, and before long some nice white beetroot and carrots to add to this bed. Lovely. So you can see nicely under the fleece now, as well as helping to keep the growing medium warm, also keep birds off. I need to make sure that bit's put down properly. But yeah, so protection is a great thing. I'll probably leave this on until the plants make a good size, maybe into May, June time, then in which I will remove it. Also with regards to watering, I'm probably going to be giving them a good watering once or twice a week, depending on the weather. So we'll come back to this in a few months and we shall see what it looks like. Got this bed here, it's more of a mound really. It's 6 feet that way, about 1.8 metres, and about 8 feet that way, which is about 2.5 metres, something like that. So I'm growing peas here under this fleece here. So you can see that I've got some canes here. These are runner bean canes, bamboo canes. And all I've got across is some string. If you're growing these in a more exposed location, you might be better off with something a bit stronger, you know, maybe some tree stakes with maybe some chain link fencing or some chicken wire, something that they can climb up. But here in this residential area, these should be just fine. So I've got two varieties here. I have Champion of England tall climbing pea, which can get to about 6 feet high, 1.8 metres, and I have Oscar, which is an early pea, it's a dwarf pea, which should get about 3 feet high, something like that. So, quite excited about how these are going to turn out. Now, the cloches are serving as protection, basically, from birds. They're probably past the point where they are at risk to bird attacks, but I don't want to be overly, I want to make sure that I give them as much chance as possible of success. So I'm leaving them on there just for a little bit longer. So let's have a look underneath so you can see what the plants look like. Now these here are the Champion of England. So I planted them probably about 6 weeks ago in cell trays. I germinated them inside and then put them out into the polytunnel once they were a little bit bigger. And I sowed 3 per cell. And you can see looking very healthy, nice green colour, and should yield me a very good crop. Back under the protection of the cloches, so I'm going to be watering these probably twice a week once again, depending on the weather. Now it really is like being a kid in a candy store in this polytunnel at the moment. I've got so many things growing here. These are Jessie dwarf peas, and you actually eat the pods and the peas on these, so quite looking forward to getting a nice crop of these as well. These are Gardener's Delight tomatoes. So I planted these probably about a month or so ago, maybe a bit longer than that. I initially grew them on inside and then moved them out here. I actually keep them in a polystyrene container overnight with the lid on. That way it protects from frost, and I found that very good to stop them getting leggy. So I'm just going to show you how I actually are going to replant these, repot them, so that they can develop and get a nice stronger plant really. I'm just filling this up here with multi-purpose compost. I push it down nice and firm, give them a nice firm base in which to grow from, and simply just do that. And what I do is I get my plant out. Let's have a look at this one here, nice and strong. Let's have a look, get him out, there we are. Doesn't look so bad, does it? And I'm just going to repot. It's in the size pot I'm using here. I'm going to push it in. Doesn't matter if a bit of this compost falls on the floor, it will become part of the growing medium. And I'm going to push it in really deep and firm, just like that. Pushing it down. And I'm going to get some of my multi-purpose compost and spread it round like that, really close actually to the first set of leaves, and that way that should help you get a nice strong plant. Firm it down so that can now benefit from the additional growing medium and space in the pot to hopefully become a fruitful plant in the summer. So this is going to go in here in the polystyrene container with the lid on. Still getting cold temperatures, still getting frosts, enough to kill these tomato plants, and indeed the peppers in there as well, and this is protecting them. Now I have these broad bean plants, variety Aquadulture Claudia. Now I do need to get these planted out. I'll let you see the root ball. So there we are. So these are going to be going in probably over the next few days, maybe in the garden I showed you earlier that was covered in the fleece where I planted the carrots, which is actually behind the polytunnel. So maybe in the corners or edges up against where the fence panels are, whilst the vines, trees, etc. coming into productivity, I can be using that space to crop things like lovely broad beans. So maybe I'm going to be putting some of those in there. Now I'm really starting to lose the light now, so I'm going to be planting this broad bean plant out. I planted the other ones out. These are otherwise known as Fava Beans. So up against the fences around the edge. So this one's going to go here. Aquadulture Claudia is the one that's generally recommended if you're in a very cool climate. They're very hardy plants. This is the reason why they're the one that's generally recommended for November, October sowing the previous year, because of their hardiness. So there we are. You could call that companion planting, making the most of space. Generally when you plant broad beans out, particularly this variety Aquadulture Claudia, which the plants can get quite big, about a 2-foot spacing between plants is recommended. And some say that if you get them in early you miss the black fly, but that one is sometimes open to debate. So there we are. Now if you like my work, please feel free to like and share. I'm going to be posting all sorts of videos, going to be sowing some exotic seeds. In fact, I've sown some already, so if you'd like to be notified when that video comes up, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button. Thank you very much for viewing. See you in the next video.